Hello and welcome to Norrathian Odyssey. I'm your host Ardwulf. Today we're going to take a look at UI customization in EverQuest II. We're not going to get into UI mods in this particular show. There are UI mods for EverQuest II. That is something that we will have to talk about at a future time. But today we're going to take a look at the UI customization tools that are built right into EverQuest II, and it's actually pretty powerful. This is my level now 7 Inquisitor that we met in the last video, and he's in the Timorous Deep Zone. We have made no modifications, or rather I've reversed those modifications that I made for the last video, and I will recreate them here. So we see that we have our hotbar at the bottom. This is a completely traditional hotbar, 1 through the equal sign. Nothing unusual about that. If we would like to create additional hotbars, all we have to do is right-click on an existing hotbar and create Open New Hotbar. And we can create as many of these as we like. There may be an upper limit. It may be 10. I'm not even sure, but I've never hit that limit. And if you've seen me play EverQuest II in other videos, you'll see that my standard UI layout has quite a few hotbars in it. Now, what you can do with these hotbars is you can go to hotbar settings and control the size of the icons. For example, you can make them really big, you can make them really small. I like a mixture of big and small ones personally. You can, let's go back to the standard size, which is 42. I don't know why they picked 42. Maybe because that's the answer to everything. You can adjust the padding size of the icons. You can change the key map for UI mapping purposes. You can change the text style for, and I'm not sure what this actually does. I've never actually managed to get it to do anything, so we're going to ignore that. We can show the spinner, so we can tab between different hotbars, and we can disallow draggable icons off that taskbar, and we can even reverse the spinner, or for that matter show the icon borders. We can turn that off, so we can drag things up to this hotbar, for example, and we can turn off the borders. You can also right click on that hotbar to lock it so you can't drag it anywhere. This one down here, actually I need to enable UI modification mode to do that. In order to do that, this is actually useful generally. You can hit the F10 button, and this will show the black box around, or gray box around, every UI element, and every one of these UI elements can from here be moved around. This one actually still can, so the ability to lock that doesn't appear to be particularly effective, but you can also move the minimap around, you can move the XP bar around, you can move these buff and debuff windows around, you can move the unit frames around. So there's a lot you can do that's just built right in here that you can literally do just by hitting one keystroke. We're going to close this hotbar. We'll get out of this mode by pressing F10 again, which will turn the UI off completely, useful for screenshots, and we'll hit it again to turn it back on. So at this character level, we really don't need all these hotbars, so we'll close this guy. Now, along these lines, in the options menu, which you can get to by clicking the EQ2 icon at the bottom, going to options, and selecting user interface, there's a whole bunch of different options that you can engage or disengage. For one thing, you can keep the main HUD windows visible. Not entirely sure what that turns off. Hiding HUD windows such as the EQ2 button. I think that's kind of redundant now. I think since the EQ2 button is on this hotbar, I don't think that's a problem anymore. You can change your cursor. You can enable software cursor. I'm not entirely sure what that does from a technical perspective, but I recommend leaving that off. My cursor performance turned into not very good cursor performance when I enabled it. You can change tooltips. And I'm not going to go through every single one of these little options. You can choose to show titles in different ways. You can choose to show or not show guild names, show or not show yourself, your own name. A couple of interesting things that you can do here is you can click on Advanced and get more options. So for example, picking. So you can basically pick through yourself to do collecting and stuff like that. I normally leave this off. this target arrow is actually, if we click on an NPC or a mob or anything, that's the target arrow that sits above its head, so you can disable that. Now, interestingly, you can also disable the target ring. So if you really want to be awesome and hardcore, you can actually turn all this off, and you can turn the names off. I don't play like this, but target encounter arrows, I don't know what that is. That's probably for multi-mob encounters, something we'll get to in a later video as well. I believe I've mentioned it already. But you can make a lot of modifications to this UI just by fooling around with these. And you could even change this. That's interesting. Okay. So what this does is when you mouse over a target, this puts an outline around it. Actually, I kind of like that effect, to be honest. Never really played with that, as opposed to the glow. You can turn the glow on to full, so that doesn't appear to actually make any difference, to be honest. This will affect your spell effects. You can actually change the cursor size. I believe you have to have enable software cursor. I'll show you that. You can see that it's becomes suddenly sluggish. You can make the cursor really big if that's what you want. So we're going to turn that off. Actually, let's experiment here. Let's make it really big, and then turn it off. Okay, so you can't lock it in that position. Some of these are options that I don't really fool with, and I suspect that a lot of people don't actually fool with, but we're taking a look at them today. You can change your screenshot formats. You can, if they're JPEGs, you can adjust the JPEG quality. There's a paper doll file where you can take paper doll screenshots, which is actually kind of cool because they are created as transparent graphics. So there's things you can do with that are clever. There is built-in video capture in EverQuest II. For those of you who are wondering, I am not using it. I have tried it in the past. I believe that it relies on having QuickTime installed on your system, and I don't use QuickTime, so I am just using Fraps to record all my videos. That has been asked in comments a number of times, so I might as well mention it. Fraps is kind of the gold standard for that. But you can, and the maximum resolution you can get out of these is even at high, is not that high. So it does work. I've experimented with it in Free Realms, which is another SOE game, but and it worked fine. But it was on a different computer that had QuickTime installed, and I choose not to deal with that on this computer. You can make a number of other modifications. You can change the mapping, for example. There's a way to disable the minimap, for instance, and I'm not sure I found this. So you can actually go to the old maps. These are the old zone maps, and the mini maps actually. That's the new current in-game maps. And there may be map mod UI. There may be map UI mods. I'm not entirely sure. It's not something I've really investigated. For me, the default out-of-the-box EverQuest II UI is more than adequate for the way I play this game. There is Logitech G15 keyboard support. I have a G15 keyboard, not on this computer, and I believe I did not manage to get this to work in any way that I wouldn't be able to just by using the built-in default G15 software, so I'm not entirely sure what this does. Game features, you can actually turn off showing quest rewards before you complete the quest. So if you like to be surprised, you can adjust your the level at which the broker will ask you if you're sure when you want to buy stuff. And you can play with the experience bar. Now that's something else I would like to mention. If you right-click on the experience bar, we're right now showing adventuring experience. You can right-click on it to show trade skill experience. I'm a level 1 trade skiller. I've never done any of the trade skill stuff. If you do the first couple of quests along the trade skill line, even if you don't really do any crafting, you'll end up at like trade skill level 4 or 5 without any real effort at all. You can show alternate advancement experience, which is 0. You do not start getting that until level 10. And I can go back to that. Something else you can do is that you can disable combat experience or quest experience. So you can effectively level lock yourself. You'll still get the AA experience from those things, but you'll effectively level lock yourself and not gain any more adventuring levels while those are disabled. Now, this is the alternate experience, alternate advancement window. And this does some interesting things. Now, I can't really do anything here because you don't start getting AA points until level 10, but I can show you the window. And these are, you can think talent trees on this if you like, and it sort of is the same general idea, but it's implemented pretty differently. You start getting AA points at level 10, and your gain of AA points is not at all dependent on your level. You can continue to gain AA points even if you're level locked, and you can gain multiple AAs, and it's not unusual to do so within the context of a single adventuring level. And you can choose to divert some of your adventure experience, which are quests and mobs. Well, it's mostly mobs because you get AA experience from the quests anyway, into AA experience. And it's not a bad idea to do that if you're intending to get to participating in the end game stuff, because if you land at level 90 with insufficient AA points, you are unable to advance to level 92, which is the current level cap. If I have mentioned it as being level 90 in a previous video, that is incorrect. But you need a certain amount of AA points, and the number of AAs you have is right here to advance beyond level 90. There are reasons for that I won't go into. At certain levels, you get access to these different sort of traits, and you can pick them off these lists. So, for example, every 10 levels you get a human tradition, which is this big block of different stuff down here, and those can affect different things. These do not cost AA points, by the way. You just get them as you level. These character traits, you get them at 8, 23, and so on, all the way up to 82. These class-based traits you get at 14, 24, and every 10 levels thereafter. And then you have these other tabs which relate to the things you can spend AA points on, and then you can actually go over a couple of extra tabs. There are trade skill AAs, so if you're running a more or less completely trade skill character, it does behoove you to do some adventuring, so you could put points into these trade skill AAs. But even if you're like a level 90 character and you decide that you're primarily a trade skill, you can still dump points into these, and they're pretty handy, and they can make crafting, for those people who find EverQuest II's crafting process kind of grisly and tedious, it can make it more efficient. And then you have different tabs for your class and your subclass, and then the shadows and heroic and prestige AA trees are tied to different expansions. If you have all the expansions up through Age of Discovery, you'll have access to all this stuff, but some of the later tabs here are things that you will not be able to invest points in for quite a while. So, for example, that would be a bad example because you can actually put anything you want there. These guys here require level 85, and you have to have spent 200 points on AAs globally. So the current AA cap is something like 340, I think. It's something like that. So there's a lot of AAs available in the game. And at some point, leveling is relatively easy in EverQuest II. At some point, you will find that the primary method of advancing your character, once you hit the level cap, becomes solely AAs. And it can take quite a bit of work to increase those, because even though you may be diverting all of your XP goes to AA once you hit the level cap, but even before that, you can divert some of your XP into AAs, and it's a good idea too. I recently wrote on the blog that I had, immediately upon reaching level 10 and becoming eligible for AAs, I had set my AA slider to 55%, which is normally about where I like to keep it. And I found that in the Darklight Wood zone, which is this sort of dark elfy starter zone, that there wasn't quite enough questing to get me to level 20, and therefore to finish that zone. I did manage to do it without really doing anything else in any other zones by grinding just a little bit. I don't mind that. There are 4 starter zones and 2 say 11 to 20 zones, and Tonica, and the common lands that you can go adventure in. So if you don't mind going elsewhere than the zone you started in, there is certainly no particular reason why you can't set your AA slider to 90% instantly upon reaching level 10 and still hit level 20 without too much trouble. My current character, I'm running at 75% AA XP. I want to go check this dock out, actually. I haven't been down here in a while. We have a collectible. Totally worthwhile to collect these things, as we talked about in the previous video. And it's a moth, which is okay. You'll end up with more collectibles than you can really use, so on a single character. So you can either sell them, or what I do is I stick them in the shared bank, which you have access to as a gold player, which I am, or as a silver player, you have 2 shared bank slots. If you're a subscriber, you get 8 shared bank slots. And if you run a lot of alts, which I do, because I like to have all the trade skills covered, and I generally focus on a couple of the trade skills. There's certain of them that I'm just not terribly interested in advancing particularly. But there are some that are really cool to advance. If you're into crafting, and if you have a lot of alts, then you can stick them in the shared bank and just pick them up with other characters. I have like a priority list personally. My main character, who is currently a warlock, gets his first crack at the collectibles. Then I have a number 2 character who will go into the shared bank and collect anything that she can collect. Then a number 3 character, and so on and so on. And by about number 7, I think I cleared all the collectibles out of the shared bank. You'll also get ability tomes. Let's see if we have actually picked up any yet. We have not. You'll get ability tomes as you advance. Those can be important, but there's a lot more classes than just the class you're playing, so you'll end up seeing a lot. We got some players down here. You'll end up seeing a lot that you can't use, so you can sell those, and the turnover rate on them is actually quite good, and in some cases it's very good. Or you can stockpile them, put them in the shared bank, and your other characters can pick them up. You can also vendor them, of course, but I would put them on the broker if that's at all practical for you. So that wraps up this very brief introductory video on how to fool with and tinker with the EverQuest II UI. I hope that you've found this instructive. We have more videos coming, so keep your eyes on this channel. In the notes below, you will find a link to my website at ardwulfslair.wordpress.com and links to add me to your social networking circles on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. So subscribe to this channel, check out future videos, and I hope that you've had a good time watching.